Chael, you're one of the top 6 speakers of the past 8 years, but I hated you at first. Could you please mention the Dirty Folks podcast? Thank you, Lord Charles. Dirty Folks.
And see, I find it to be hilarious because even if I did behave like a teenager, I would be ahead of a lot of these B-dubs that want to make these comments because a lot of you behave like toddlers. Shout out to my man Dirty Folk.
And it's because y'all niggas don't support. Y'all do support. Y'all support titties and pussy. Hey, shout out to Dirty Folk.
Men have sort of quietly begun to agree that even the most like off the wall extreme advice or takes that you get from some random guy on the internet is more useful than anything allegedly profound that you would hear from a trained black female professional. All right, like look, let's take a perfect example of this, right? The idea of Dirty Folks when he come up and he says like women with clothes on, that is a way more useful notion to frame your mental state around than anything your black female therapist would ever tell you. Cause she's a woman with clothes on. Why the fuck would you listen to her? Like when he says that, it makes sense in a way that it just appeals to you. And it's something that your black female therapist could never match.
Yo, Travis, the daycare is too influential to be so small. Do your big homie a favor, man. Like, sub, share, clip. I know I got at least 10 bars to change somebody's life, man. Help me to help my brother. Love each other as you love yourself.
Man, welcome to the Dirty Folks Daycare. I appreciate y'all being here today, man. Click like as y'all come in, man. Click like as y'all come in. If it's in your heart, leave a comment, man. Help the algorithm. Today gonna be a real light day, real quick show. We're gonna have a movie day. We're having a Manhwa movie day. Well, I was taking my little sabbatical, like 6 month sabbatical, and for personal reasons, a lot of fuck shit. Anyway, I was like, I wouldn't even know my Dirty Folks channel. I was on another YouTube page I got just watching Manhwa. That was like my release. I didn't care about the news. I didn't want to hear about P. Diddy, what black women did. I just wanted an escape. And what I realized while I was going through my Manhwa phase, right, is the Korean story. Number one, Koreans tell better stories than black people, and I'll tell you why in a minute. The Korean story is very similar to the Tawny and swarthy American folklore. In the auspice of they feel like a lesser than the Chinese and the Chinese. They're a lesser than Asian, but they're better than Filipinos, right? So like people think they can be better. People want to decide, right? I think they talk race like color. They talk race like human, right? Human race versus alien race, right? And talk nationality. Korea versus America versus China, which is very simple, very eloquent, very common way to see things. Right? America and males, everybody on their own thing inside thing, but most cases everybody looks like etc. So as I'm going through this thing, 3 things happen to go right to it. One, so right now is very idea what school should be. This was very similar to the idea of like when he board school, he attended the school down there. But he's from Chicago. He's like, yo, bro, went to school, I need a way to send my books. You know, you only got classes and do everything else, let it be sweet. We got 2 teachers and keep school that does after, you know, we find out 16 graduated. And he was like, I paid for it. And here's the thing about teaching. You only have to have one licensed person. Everybody speaks. That's how the schools work. Right? Person with a teacher. Everybody just go through some type of spectrum. But I get to be superintendent. I get to just, you know, I'm like that. So the first thing was Koreans had the game down pack education, right?
seats, everyone. I'm Sai Chabashira, the homeroom teacher for Class 1D. At this school, you will not change classes, ever. For the next 3 years, I'll be responsible for you until graduation. For first order of business, the school rule book. Take one and pass them back. We have some rather unique rules at this institution. First, you must all live in the dorms. Your contact with the outside world will be restricted, as will your time away from the campus. For anyone concerned, the school offers a wide variety of facilities. Anything you could need or want can be found here, including leisure and entertainment. To make purchases, you will spend your points, which are tracked using the school's main computer system. At this school, you can buy absolutely anything on campus with these. Points are distributed to you on the first of each month. Each point is worth 1 yen. If you'll all check your devices, you notice that you've already been allotted 100,000.
Wait, what? Are you kidding me?
I see you're all surprised by the size of your allotment. This school judges its students based on their merit alone. You've shown immense value just getting into this school. We have allotted you what we think you are worth.
Thank you very much. Come again.
It really does work exactly like money.
Yo, so when I saw that, I said to myself, I said, self, there's very little difference between, I've always said this, there's very little difference between school, military, and jail. It's all forms of slavery, right? But I love the way they did it. Like, you have one teacher, you're not going to switch, like, this is what we do. Unlike how we have it now where everybody got switch up teachers and you never get to identify or have an emotional support. You just go from adult to adult, from babysitter to child care representative to kindergarten through, and you never get a connection. I like the way they did it. And it would have been cool if they didn't have girls in the class, because they had girls in the class, they had a field trip. And when the field trip happened, it was once again, the Korean experience reminds me of the American Tawny and Swarthy experience. And clicking. So I ain't clicking. So what end up happening is it, as I try to figure this out, what end up happening is they went camping. Open. Hold on. I'll be right back. Let me get this open. I ain't got the other commercial. Here we go.
We need to segregate the girls and boys areas. We should move the boys' tent somewhere else and then make the girls off limits to the boys.
I don't know.
What would that solve? If that's what you want, then you guys should move it yourselves.
As far as right there. The girls are on a camping trip. They don't want to be next to the boys. And then they say, because we don't want to be next to the boys need to move our stuff somewhere else. In which my man had a valid point. He said, man, If you want to leave, go. Just take your own stuff and leave. It's not a problem. You want to go? Go. Get your stuff and leave.
Then you guys should move it yourselves, because I'm sure as hell not gonna.
We need to segregate the girls and boys
I don't even know
areas.
what happened.
We should move the boys' tent somewhere else and then make the girls off limits to the boys.
I don't know.
What would that solve? If that's what you want, then you guys should move it yourselves, because I'm sure as hell not gonna.
We weren't even asking for your help, jerk. Hirata, you would help us move it, wouldn't you?
Think about that. The guy they don't want is like, yo, you not a simp. We didn't ask you to do it anyway. I don't need no man. And then turn around immediately and ask another man. Immediately. If this ain't Black America, I don't need no man. Immediately. Stepdaddy season.
We need to segregate the girls and boys areas. We should move the boys' tent somewhere else and then make the girls off limits to the boys.
I don't know.
What would that solve? If that's what you want, then you guys should move it yourselves, because I'm sure as hell not gonna.
We weren't even asking for your help, jerk. Hirata, you would help us move it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course. I'll do it. But I think that it's gonna take a little while.
I have no objections to separating the boys from the girls. But, while he's in the process of moving it, Hirata would have access to both the boys and girls areas, right? Yeah, and what's your point? I don't think he can be trusted to do it by himself.
Hirata?
Hold on. I know what's happening. Because I tried to reload it like 7 times, so every time. But here's the thing. We're going to go right here. They saying they can't trust a man around female stuff. He needs to be supervised. So common sense, right? Man sense is, okay, cool. If you think a man can't be trusted with the women's stuff, one of the girls have to help. Because that would be equality, right? Okay.
He's in the process of moving it. Hirata would have access to both the boys and girls areas, right? Yeah, and what's your point? I don't think he can be trusted to do it by himself.
Hirata isn't like that.
Well, he is a boy, nevertheless. We should add another guy to the tent detail. That will double the manpower effectively. And the other benefit is that the two boys can keep an eye on each other.
But that won't work. There's no way we can trust any of the boys besides Hirata.
There's someone else. And it's him. Ayano Koji.
Well, that's wonderful. Trusted by default.
So think about that. After everything that happened, they don't want to be next to the boys, but they need the boys to move their stuff. They're also, by the way, because I couldn't watching at that point, I couldn't take the blatant feminism. They also at that point need the boys to supply them with food, right? Because it's like a nature thing. They're gonna have to go fishing and all that. The boys have to move their campground, feed them. When they yell, the boys still got to go find them and protect them, but they don't want to be around the boys. When I looked, I said, yo, Korea is just like Compton. You'll always have that simp that'll do anything for a girl and drag their mans and them into it. Perfect example. 2 days ago in Chicago, somebody shot up a nightclub before the party even started. Before the party being started, bro. Club artist. 19 people shot, 4 people died. All because of a girl who was promoting a party, did something to somebody, and I'm setting in info on it from word on the street. But that's what's happening. You get a girl to get a guy to do something, grab it, and then people ask them to do anything, end up in a precarious situation. But when I'm looking at this Korean manhwas, right? Koreans see themselves as the black people of people, very much so. The difference between black people in America and Korean storytellers, the only difference is when you tell a story, you're either the hero or the villain.
I walked up to Alicia and greeted her, to which she simply...
That's how stories work, right? When you tell a story, the hero or the victim of your story. Black people consistently want to be the victim of their story. Why we happen? You want to be the victim of your story, and because liberal women. I'm not even going to say it's by default, but all blue-haired white girls too, right? All the septic rings, all they want to be a victim. Woe is me. And when you want to be a victim, you are trying to the hood, which is why do black men have the strive for excellence in America. Then our boys I grew up who had to make a decision at 15 years old whether they're going to go with this like criminals or guns. For a young girl, bro. Black girls, black boys, like every other ethnicity. If you're as a teacher, then you're from school, and he kind of ignoring her. It's like me and my dad. I like my dad, but like you, you're cool. There's none of that. Like because the black community, no other community allows them to choose men. They don't holler at men. They holler at them, and they still allow women to choose men. They choose men they want to be with, and because they want the victimhood, right? Well, somebody take care of me, right? Or what was me? This was they saw the victim. I need a criminal. I need a roughneck. Dating standards with a girl, boys do what girls like. Girls only like victim in a victim. I want to say, in a cycle, and then you blame the boogeyman, right? White supremacy. You have the opportunity in America. Foreigners come over here, and then two generations sometimes. You got to be out. Only thing that's me love. But don't tell something like. But I watched this particular one, and I'm gonna let it ride out. But I'm gonna let it ride out. It's the struggle of a man, because once again, like I said, Japanese manhwa doesn't really go race; it goes gender and nationality. A young man who just wanted to be something better, a young man from the slums, who got out the slums and got a job, and everybody looks down on him. The same way you think white people look down on black people, even though white people hire black men. The only people that don't hire black men are black women and human resources, and that's facts. Mexicans are hire black men. They hire you last, but if you go to a day labor spot, Mexicans will hire you. Blue collar black men will hire you. Educated black men won't hire you because they gay, but blue collar black men will hire you. White people will hire you. If you go to any Arab store, it's always black people in there working for the Arabs, so Arabs will hire you, and they don't even like you. But like, Arabs had the slave trade. Yes, they did, and they still hire you. Everybody hires you but Keisha. But you blame everybody else except the person that's holding you back. So this is a story of a guy who got that jam, but his white supremacy in this particular case is the nobility, right? The status quo, the royals versus the commoners. And he's trying to be something better. He's trying to elevate himself in a caste system that allows for excellence, but does not, but puts you in your place, right? Like yeah, it's black people, then it's like, he's one of the good ones, right? He's my George. Dude want to be a George. Shout out to him, man. He want to be a George. All right, we're going to let this ride out, man.
Careful. Our boy then walked up to Alicia and greeted her, to which she simply gave a small nod. The two knights stood face to face. Vlad introduced himself, of course, as Vlad Skora. Who else would he be? But man, Pablo looked furious. He threw his shield to the ground and said the boy didn't even have the right to hear his name. He wasn't worthy of this fight and was dishonoring the duel just by participating. But our boy was getting tired of this whole talk about being worthy and knowing your rightful place. Ever since he left Skora, he had wondered why nobles wanted to keep the world's beauty all to themselves. He was born in a poor place, sure, but he saw no reason why he didn't deserve to be here. He wasn't about to walk away without doing anything, so he asked Pablo how they were any different from each other. The man simply responded that Vlad's actions were bringing shame to House Bayezid. Then he warned the boy that the normal duel rules wouldn't apply. He should use everything he had, and even then, he would still be utterly defeated. History would remember this day as the boy's moment to shine, and he charged forward. Pablo blocked the first attack and smoothly slid his blade, sending Vlad stumbling backward. Today, for the first time in his life, Vlad was fighting for someone other than himself. He advanced with the voice telling him to aim for the left side of Pablo's head. That was where the knight tended to defend with his shield. Even though he was skilled, he was still a creature of habit. Soon, the men standing behind Ender noticed that this kid wasn't an amateur. Vlad kept striking left and right with speed, but Pablo remained calm. He He could see that the boy had natural talent. He truly carried a fire within him. It was clear that he was a wolf starving for combat. Pablo actually admired that kind of enthusiasm. Then Vlad felt something strange, and at that moment, Pablo landed a clean strike. He looked at the boy and told him he had talent, but he was still too young and had a long road ahead. To block the attack, Vlad had to throw his arm and sword into the way, but even so, he was sent to the ground. Pablo stepped forward for another blow, asking if Vlad was out of tricks. I thought our boy was going to dodge with style, but nope, he was slammed to the ground and was already getting beat down, turning his face away from the blows. The voice told him he needed to stop taking these direct hits and learn to hit. But another strike came in and blocked. He was sent flying again. Man hit the back of his head and fell to his knees. Before he could get up, Pablo was already in front of him. He said that the boy was impressive, but it was still too soon. Still, he admitted that Vlad had truly been worthy of challenging him. It was a shame that their first meeting had to be under these circumstances. They could talk another time, but for now, this was the end. Vlad saw only the shadow of the incoming attack and a quick motion directed it. Sarah was just about to stop the duel. Everyone in the room was stunned. Pablo immediately realized that he had just fallen for a counter exactly like ours. Everyone in the hall was trying to understand how Squire had just blocked an attack from Pablo. Andrew was shouting that it wasn't possible, that it had to be a coincidence. Just looking at Vlad, anyone could see he was barely able to hold his sword. But Pablo was the only one who was sure it wasn't coincidence, because he didn't fully understand what had just happened. Then Vlad called out to him and asked, why? He asked that could only be the kind of people. Pablo was a little confused, wondering if the boy was delirious. Vlad's eyes were half closed, and Pablo noticed. He looked like he was caught in some kind of dream, living a memory. The story then spoke of a boy who was worth nothing. But
I was gonna let it ride out, man. But that's the part that touched me. He said, why? Why could it only be those type of people? It's like every black person I've ever heard on Donahue. Like, why white people can be rich and black people can't? But black people got Benzes and $400 Pelly jackets and everything else. But the why. The most important W, bro. The who, what, when, where, that's cool. Why? All right, that's enough of my interruption.
Coincidence. Because Uni didn't fully understand what had just happened. Then Vlad called out to him and asked, why? He asked the knight why it could only be their kind of people. Pablo was a little confused, wondering if the boy was delirious. Vlad's eyes were half closed, and Pablo noticed. He looked like he was caught in some kind of dream, living memory. The story then spoke of a boy who was worth nothing, but still wanted his place to shine in this world. He longed for mastery, for opportunities. Somehow, he wanted to find his worth in this world and reach a place of beauty. And then Vlad said that he wanted to get there too. At that moment, his talent began to bloom, that no one in this world had ever seen before. Their swords clashed again, and they tried to make sense of what was happening. Man, Vlad's hand was turning red. Meanwhile, Zaire muttered to himself. He had shown the technique, but he never expected him to use it. Watching him fight, he remembered all he ever taught Vlad was the basics. So how was he already doing this? Pablo noticed that Vlad's attacks weren't as sharp anymore, but each one carried an unshakable will of steel. Somehow, this was starting to get fun. He wanted to understand what exactly the boy was so determined to reach. Then Pablo noticed that Vlad's sword was starting to tremble. He knew what that was. It was resonance. Maybe the boy was on the verge of awakening his aura. If that was the case, then Pablo had to do as a knight to fulfill. He struck again, testing whether Vlad could block it. He wanted the boy to show the talent that was about to be born. Once again, Vlad fed himself, while the audience murmured, trying to grasp what was happening. His blade was beginning to glow, surrounded by a faint blue aura. The knights present knew what that meant. It was an omen. Pablo then shouted for his shield. The squire immediately brought it to him and strapped it onto his arm. He struck his sword against it and declared, I, Pablo Narnstein, acknowledge this boy as worthy. And then he handed him, say your name. Vlad slowly began to speak, and the story told of the boy born in the slums. He walked through the alleys, living his entire life in search of the light. But in this moment, he even his worth. Vlad saw below the city, filled aura. His aura awakened, and he declared, I'm Vlad Ashura. He blinded everyone in the room, forcing to shield their eyes. At that moment, Pablo also activated his aura. He told Vlad to come in with everything he had. He had earned his recognition. Surrounded by aura, Vlad leaped for him. A short time later, he was on the ground. Pablo smiled and said he fought well. Our boy had fallen asleep peacefully, until Ender woke up and announced that Vlad had used aura in a duel that was completely against the rules, so he was disqualified. Pablo just thought to himself how pathetic Ender was. He couldn't see the value of this moment. Joseph and Zaire then walked up to Pablo and thanked him for fulfilling his duty at night. Pablo replied that he was simply doing his job, and that it had been an honor for him as well.
Three things, man, that I got out of it. First of all, man, shout out to Gail and I never see y'all in these, bro. You wouldn't